Youth of the Mission joins the Global Outreach Day on May 27th. 30 Days of Prayer for the Muslim World starts on the same day. YWAM Calais helps refugees in France, and more on this edition of the Youth of the Mission News Show. Thank you for downloading this, the 99th episode of the Youth of the Mission News Show podcast. I'm your host, Bill Hutchison. You can contact us, find out how to subscribe, leave comments, and find links to all the stories we talk about on the show notes for this podcast at ywampodcast.com/99. May 27th is Global Outreach Day for 2017.
The Global Outreach Day is coming up. It's always the last Saturday in the month of May. We're on year 6 now, and the goal is to mobilize 100 million believers in 200 nations, all witnessing for Jesus on the same day across the earth. Now, there's millions have been responding in the last 5 years, but we think this 6th year, May 27th, is going to reach larger numbers and have greater participation than any time before. So from Kansas City, the International House of Prayer, we are standing with you. May 27th, the Global Outreach Day, but the day before the Global Upper Room, we're going to be praying with many other groups as well. And John Dawson, you with YWAM, that's what you guys do, is outreach, outreach, outreach.
Yeah, but we need a day like this, just like the Jewish people needed the feast days. There are times when you come together, and we have been served by this ourselves, because it tells you, okay, am I really intentionally communicating the gospel in its simple basics to the people in my life that I love? So there's something about being intentional on that day that ups our game for the whole year. We need it.
Tens of millions mobilized on that date. Of course, the father to so many in evangelism, Reinhard Bonnke, he has really been behind this. That excites us because we love Reinhard so much. But more than that, it's an opportunity, like John Dawson just said, for us to lock into a day and step out of our comfort zone and do it together. May 27th, be there, be involved. May 26th, the Global Upper Room is a day of prayer before the Global Outreach Day. So participate in both days, Friday and Saturday.
Let's do it.
Visit globaloutreachday.com to find out how to get involved, get free training, and download free resources. Corresponding with the Global Outreach Day is also the start of the month of Ramadan for the Islamic faith.
The 30 Days of Prayer for the Muslim World began in 1992.
With a group of Christians who felt inspired to challenge the way they understood Muslim people.
What if they saw Muslims in the same way God does?
What if they knew Muslims as unique individuals, families and tribes
with distinctive passions, concerns and needs?
Could they see Muslim people as His beloved creation?
And if they did, what would happen?
What has happened is the greatest turning of Muslims to Christ in history.
Since 2001, there have been over 70 movements of at least 1,000 Muslims turning toward Christ,
numbering in the hundreds of thousands.
It is no small coincidence that this great awakening in the Muslim world
has coincided with an unprecedented prayer movement for Muslims,
such as the one we invite you to participate in through
30 Days of Prayer for the Muslim world.
"30 Days encourages Christians to pray with that same inspiration that started the movement
and to let God direct their prayers with His loving knowledge of the Muslim world."
With more information at our disposal than ever before,
it's necessary to use discernment in how we form our understanding about the world around us.
The 30 Days Prayer Guide draws its information about the Muslim world
from people who live among Muslims
and aims to echo their voices and help you understand the incredible diversity
that exists in Muslim cultures around the globe
and in your neighborhood.
Praying during Ramadan is a helpful way for Christians to identify with Muslims.
During this time, many Muslims are seeking encounters with God
and a better understanding of His ways.
Each year, we receive reports that this is what God does
for both Muslims and the Christians who pray for them.
Though the issues faced by the Muslim world change from year to year.
For over 25 years, 30 Days of Prayer for the Muslim World Prayer Guide has been encouraging,
educating,
and enabling Christians to engage
through prayer in an act of love for Muslim people around the world,
sharing their burdens,
understanding their concerns,
and petitioning God to help them.
In this way,
we fulfill the command of Jesus
to love our neighbors.
join the 30 Days of Prayer.
Join the 30 Days of Prayer.
Join the 30 Days of Prayer.
Join the 30 Days of Prayer and travel around the Muslim world
with hundreds of thousands of other believers
into an active understanding
of God's transforming love.
So remember to pray for Muslims who start Ramadan this month. You can visit 30daysprayer.com for resources on Islam to get your copy of the prayer guide, including a new kids edition, and find out how you can participate. In early April, a fire tore through a refugee camp in northern France, just outside of Dunkirk. The camp housed an estimated 1,500 migrants, including a handful of Christian converts. Because of the fires, the camp has been reduced to a heap of ashes. It's reported that 19 Christian converts were evacuated from the camp to a Youth with a Mission center near Calais. You can read the full story on the Site magazine website, which is linked to in the show notes at ywampodcast.com/99. YWAM founder Lauren Cunningham was recently interviewed by Charisma News. During the interview, he spoke about how he believes that there is a great revival on the way. One of the main reasons that he believes this is that it's believed by 2033 the Bible will have been translated into every language on earth. Here's a clip from the interview.
Well, today I'm in Kona, Hawaii, and I had the privilege to see what God is doing through YWAM. And I wanted to do a podcast with Lauren Cunningham, and we're on such a tight time frame that we're actually doing it in the car. But I wanted to ask you, Lauren, to just talk to me and to my listeners about what you see as happening spiritually, because the statistics that are coming out, especially in the United States and other parts of the West, is that there are fewer people going to church. There aren't any real obvious revivals going on. What do you see happening spiritually, especially from your vantage point of Youth with the Mission in so many countries around the world?
Well, first of all, let's look at history. The first 500 years of the Bible it has to do with Moses and of course creation. And then the next 500 has to do with the family under Abraham. The next 500 years has to do with the kingdom. The next 500 years comes into Jesus. And with that, you see the division that comes into the church, first at Constantinople, and then the next 500 years, it's the time of the Reformation. And now another 500 years has come, not because of history, but because God has been doing something over history. But what I see in the world is we are poised for the greatest spiritual awakening the world has ever known. Now that means revival starts with the people of God. Judgment begins there as well. So there's a cleansing that goes on. So it's reviving the saints. But the spiritual awakening are those that, a lot of them are right now atheists. There are all kinds of people out there, animists and all. But they are being prepared.
You can hear the full interview on the Charisma News website, which I'll link to in the show notes, again at ywampodcast.com/99. Lauren Cunningham has been traveling through the U.S. mainland recently, and while in Washington, D.C., Lauren, David Hamilton, and Paul Childers met with Ben Carson, the U.S. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. While meeting with him, they presented him with a copy of the Christian Magna Carta, one of the documents that forms the foundation of Youth of the Mission. Now, last month, we shared about the upcoming event with Lauren Cunningham, Joy Dawson, and Brother Andrew. The event is now available to view online, and we've embedded it at ywampodcast.com/99 so you can watch it. Last month, YWAM Townsville hosted the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea at their campus to celebrate the relationship between the nations of Papua New Guinea and Australia, and all that's been achieved through the partnership of PNG and the YWAM Ships Australia. You can follow YWAM Ships Australia on their Instagram account, which is linked to at ywampodcast.com/99. There you can see photos of their latest news, like the recent departure of their ship to Alateo, Milne Bay in Papua New Guinea. Now recently it seems somewhat trendy to disparage the effectiveness of short-term missions. While it's true that not all short-term missions trips are particularly effective, some well-run and well-planned trips can bring about transformation of entire communities. Beginning in 2008, Dr. Evan Nelson and his wife Maggie did their first trip to a mountain region of western Panama. They partnered with YWAM Panama for their trip, where they first encountered the Ngobi tribe, whom YWAM has been exploring ways to help. What they encountered with the Ngobi people were people stuck in the cultural dark ages. The Ngobi tribe has been declared by UNICEF as the poorest indigenous group in the Americas. It was a community led by an animistic witch doctor. Women there were treated as property. 12-year-old pregnancies was not uncommon, and people had a less than 4th grade education, and medical care was next to nothing. During the Nelsons' 17 visits to the community in the last 9 years, the Ngobi people have seen a huge transformation. Some of the follow-up teams were able to build a church education building that doubles as a community center and a home for single mothers. They've also been able to see several homes built for the villagers, replacing the dirt floor stick huts that they previously lived in. There's also now a local pastor who's baptized nearly 900 people. Maggie says that people who were first opposed to the church now want to work with us because they have seen transformation. This is just one way that a well-run short-term missions has made a difference in the world, and why short-term missions must be a part of building God's kingdom here on earth. You can read the detailed story about the Nelsons' work with the Ngobi people through the link in the show notes at YWAMpodcast.com/99. Now, YWAM Panama continues to work with the Ngobi people through YWAM Ships Outpost Panama, YWAM Panama, and YWAM Cherokee. In episode 96 of the YWAM News Show, we shared about how YWAM Haiti has been working towards assisting local farmers to irrigate their land. They've so far had 2 successful harvests in the newly irrigated fields and are preparing upgrades to the system so that they will be even more effective in the future. Terry Snow from YWAM Haiti will tell us more.
Hello everyone, this is Terry Snow. I'm out here. It is April 13th, and it's been just a year ago, 2 weeks, that we first initiated the pump and started irrigating the fields, and now we've had 2 harvests. Our 3rd harvest is coming up right now. What we're doing now is we're trying to make things more efficient. Before, this was just a dirt canal. We're turning it into cement to allow the water to flow better, more water get to the target of the fields, and also to prevent erosion. But in addition to that, we have these gates that were made and designed by Zimmerman's and Ephrata, PA, and we want to say thank you to them. We're installing this one here today. This one will be one that's specially designed for our pump. Our tube will go right into this and go right into the canal, which will make the efficiency of the pump just a whole lot better. So it's just really exciting to see everything going on here. Everybody's busy. So this is Terry Snow live report right here, April 13th in Balale at the pump.
You can visit YWAMHaiti.org to find out more about this project and how you might be able to get involved. We have a link in the show notes that you can follow to read about a current YWAM team that is serving in Vanuatu. During their time there, they've been through a cyclone, worked in medical clinics, done prayer walks and evangelism, and have been able to bless a local village school by building them a water tank. The team is from YWAM Ships Kona. You can read more about it on their website, YWAMships.net, or by following the link in the show notes at YWAMpodcast.com/99. Jaron Camp is an Aboriginal Christian youth camp facilitated each year by local Noongar elders and YWAM Perth in southwestern Australia. Jeep U, co-leader of the Revive Ministry, shares about new friends made and championing hope.
My name is Jipe and I'm part of the Revive Ministry. We run a camp each year called Jaron Camp. It's a Noongar word for autumn. The goal of Jaron Camp is to gather Aboriginal kids from WA, and most of the kids are from around Perth, and so from the Noongar tribe. But the goal of it is just to get them to get to know God, and as well as bringing discipleship into some of the faithful kids that have been joining us. This year was the biggest one. For most of them, it was the first time they were introduced to Christian camp. We did see God move into the time of teaching, and after that we had a time of application, and It was so amazing how almost most of them opened up to us and shared some of the hard situation they went through, but also are going through at the moment. One of the things that we hear from Aboriginal people or about Aboriginal youth in general are mostly negative stuff. Kids in trouble or kids involved in drug abuse or alcohol. But I want to remind us that there is hope. Like there is hope for those young people, and what God has done in my life and in the lives of a lot of us around, like on base, God can also do the same in their lives. And I believe that Aboriginal young people are also called to be part of what God has planned for the world.
Visit YWAM Perth's website, ywamperth.org.au, to find out more about their ministry opportunities. In 2016, due to fighting in South Sudan, YWAM workers in the country faced an urgent need to evacuate. Many of those workers were natives of South Sudan and couldn't afford the cost of airfare. Thanks to contributions from churches and from YWAM's emergency fund called the Storehouse Fund, they were able to leave safely. Now, as violence continues to make South Sudan unsafe for their return, the YWAMers from South Sudan are continuing to care for vulnerable people who live near their new home in Arua, northern Uganda. They've begun to reach out to other refugees from South Sudan and villages nearby, helping those people find shelter, nutritious food, and health care. Also, a team of 8 from the YWAM Arua Discipleship Training School recently had the opportunity to fly back to a refugee camp inside South Sudan. Although many of them had recently escaped the violence, they sensed God leading them back into South Sudan to care for others. For a month, they ran a seminar on knowing God and making God known. The 118 participants included 20 Muslims who were seeking God. Many of these people were the first believers from their tribes. Many come from the Nuba mountain area in Sudan. By the end of the program, some of the Muslim students had chosen to follow Jesus. There's more of the story, including how a Muslim leader asked YWAM to build a church in their tribe, that you can read about on the YWAM Global website, ywam.org. YWAM Organic has recently released this month's feature stories, which include stories about new pioneer areas for frontier missions around the world, refugees in Europe finding Jesus and sharing him with other refugees, a father seeing a complete transformation of his daughter as she lives and works in a community of young people committed to knowing God together, and how the influx of refugees into their own neighborhood allowed a believer named Tiffany to go to all the nations by simply walking out of her own front door. To watch the video and see the individual stories, visit ywamorganic.org. YWAM Bethlehem in New Zealand is starting an interesting new school called the Word by Heart School. Word by Heart gives participants a chance to become a storyteller through the memorization of one of the 4 Gospels. Students are trained in how to effectively and creatively share it, and then given the chance to go into the nations and share it in various contexts. The school begins in July of 2017 and is open to anyone who's previously completed a YWAM Discipleship Training School. You can visit their website, ywambethlehem.co.nz, to find out more. Create International has the privilege of traveling to many different countries around the globe. While they're there, they get to experience the beauty and culture of a wide variety of unreached people groups. During their travels, Create International has produced dozens of films for the people groups. They've recently made 21 of the documentaries from their Eye on the World series available for free from their website, createinternational.com. The Eye of the World series is a collection of mobilization documentaries on key unreached people groups. In the documentaries, they focus on some of the unique cultures and religions of some of the least reached people groups of the world. Some of these groups include the Balinese, the Bamar, the Iranians, the Jakartans, the Kurds, and more. Visit createinternational.com to check out these videos and see what other resources are available. If you're looking for some free new music, you can check out Steve Lujan from YWAM Newcastle. Stevie recently released his newest EP under his new side project, Fringes, and for the moment you can find out how to download it for free from the YWAM Newcastle website, ywamnewcastle.com. Thank you very much for downloading this episode of the Youth of the Mission News Show. You can find links to all the stories that we talked about, find out how to subscribe, and leave your feedback if you head over to ywampodcast.com/99. I hope that you'll join us next time when we explore some of the exciting ministry work that YWAM Vietnam is engaging in, and more. And remember, if you like the program, tell a friend. If you didn't, tell a friend anyways. The YWAM News Show is a fantastic place for people to find out opportunities in Youth of the Mission and for you to share more about what is happening around the world.
We set out across the sea. We set ourselves to the wind, and you were looking back at me with tear-stained cheeks and rosy lips, with nothing to forget.
You can hear previous editions of the YWAM Podcast, subscribe for new episodes, and check out the show notes at YWAMpodcast.com. The YWAM Podcast is released under a Creative Commons Attribution No Derivatives 3.0 license.